go and read. So let's jump straight into the questions about how we facilitate better crew welfare on board. The first questions I would like to ask the panel is, why has crew welfare become more prominent in organizations in recent years? Or has it? Has it always been a pressing matter? And I don't know if you want to all jump in, or Captain Kyriacos, you signal?
I'll start with you. That's okay. It's very important. First of all, hi to everybody. It's the maritime context, actually, where welfare on board can be described as the summary of all the necessary needs in order to seafarers to be healthy, happy, and the statutory procedures which should be established by the international shipping community to address the fundamental and vital theme. It's of course the welfare of the benefits of the welfare of the crew. It's ensure the safety and right of level of seafarer to decent working and living conditions on board a vessel. It includes health protections, social security, training, entertaining, and very others, among other things, social security, other forms of social security. The addition of more and better welfare services over time has offered crew members a better experience when cut off from all ashore and their relatives, and making crew life better at sea enough, as I said, recreational facilities and cultural and educational activities. It's the benefits actually coming from this one. It's very important because we have increasing of safety. I mean, safer, happy crew. It gives increase of safety on board the vessel. We have a greater efficiency during their working. We have better morale, which is respect and related to the safety of the people on board. After the critical methods which have scheme members during the training, which can be established via several partners nowadays. And of course, in case on board health, which continues improve, not according to the ILO requirement, but also the establishment of many companies nowadays in the way to protect and give this additional, let's say, safe way of living, a better way of living to their people.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everybody. What I can't say, I'll answer the second question first, which is, yes, crew well-being has always
been a prominent issue.
It's been a time immemorial issue. And short of sleep, fatigue, lack of fresh food has always been an issue, whether it was 100 years ago or whether it is today. But I think that lack of food provision in general is no longer such an issue, as with the most important, which is their main stringent regulations, which everyone faces either ashore or aboard, as all organizations are just firing new regulations to be followed either ashore or aboard. So basically, the only people who are actually pressured are the people on board, who are also pressured by the people ashore. So it's a wheel which constantly
it's always been a prominent
turning.
issue, but it's getting accentuated by the increasing compliance pressure and perhaps also the staff shortage. That sort of
as somebody else in the previous panel had also mentioned, it's because of our evolution. So basically, as we evolve, issues will always evolve, including crew matters and crew welfare.
Sure.
So,
Thank you.
I can jump in here, okay?
Alan, maybe I should just quickly say that you're not Simon Grainge, but you're kindly stepped in.
It's quite the transformation. I wish I looked as dapper. I'm sorry. I'm from ISWAN, International Seafarers Welfare and Assistance Network. This is my first panel discussion, guys. First time on stage doing this, so I've jotted down some answers, and here we go. So there are several elements to consider here. Pandemic has changed how we all feel about things. Welfare was a prominent issue during COVID, and so everyone has heightened sense of awareness about it. There is also a greater sense of awareness these days about the importance of well-being in mental and physical health. Young people's expectations are much different today. They expect to be valued, to be respected, to be safe at work, not to be bullied, to be accepted if they are different. Modern life is generally much more stressful. I also feel once upon a time the attraction of going to sea was, and the romance behind that was the communal aspect of it. Now if you think of the ratings and the cadets coming through, where all they've ever known is connectivity. The ability to be able to share your feelings has changed for individuals. Those that were formerly more used to be able to express their feelings in a one-to-one basis or in a communal environment perhaps are lacking in some of those skills. And that's not the case for everybody. But that's why there is certainly more demand and more conversation. And it's super important that we continue to have these conversations and look to make the improvements.
Okay, excellent. Nicolas, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, essentially is we managed to fix everything else, so now we just hyper-focus on the crew wellness. But that being said, I am thankful for the pandemic because it brought the seafarer closer to the eyes of the public as well.
Yeah.
And this is why we're having this major movement towards the wellness and to be able to address their mental health and everything. So at least one good thing is that now the seafarer, the heart, is visible to the public.
Correct, right. Okay, well, we'll move to the next question. We'll take this one with quick round of answers. The Seafarer Happiness Index explores variables like training, wages, connectivity, workload, shore leave, food, much more. And what do you see as the top issues contributing to seafarer stress?
I've got three.
Three.
Is that right?
Why not?
First and utmost is the resting time.
Rest, yeah.
So excessive overtime leads to fatigue. So basically leads to stress. So therefore leads to welfare not being...
Mental health issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Secondly, wages. Everybody knows, and nobody can deny it, that wages, crew wages, are the most important thing with regards to crew wellness and well-being. If operators, ship managers do not pay crew on time, crew will not be happy. You don't have a happy crew, as everybody says, you don't have a happy ship. So, thirdly, cultural differences.
Right.
Which I think you mentioned before with regards to bullying, and Nicolas also mentioned that as well. So because of this
clashes on board?
Because of this diversity that we do have, and because of the multicultures, which I must correct from the previous panel, we do not have 30 nationalities per vessel. I need to correct that. No such thing. We do have a diversity of nationalities, but not as much. 3, 4, max.
That depends, of course, of the vessel, of the type of vessel.
Yeah, definitely.
We're talking about cruise ships, then we're talking about...
Okay,
it's a slightly different case.
But still, even on cruise ships, with the 1,500 to 2,000 people working on board, they're definitely not 30 nationalities. So let's be clear on that.
What about the rest of you? What do you feel are the top factors?
It's not only the wages, which is very important, of course. It's the monotony which they have on board the ship nowadays. All these people use the way of living outside and then going on board the ship, which means separate from their relatives, from their friends. It's good that we have this Wi-Fi and the internet, the satellite communication with them, which is very, very, it's absolutely necessary. Is entertaining, which they are taking on board, as you explained before to your presentation. But it is very important also not to isolate them from the rest of the people on board. I mean, having Wi-Fi, having laptops, having their getting in their cabin, it's mean isolation from the rest of the crew. We have to keep them, bring them together with necessary other ways of entertaining and keep them alert. I mean, give them something else because they don't have anymore this shore leave as they used to have it before. Nowadays, they don't have even the chance to go for a cup of coffee. They don't have the chance to go for a cup of coffee. It's a couple of days, couple of hours, some hours, or a couple of days. So nowadays, it's entertaining which they have on board. It's supposed to be something which can bring them together and also to come in contact with the people outside. I mean, relatives, friends, the rest. It's essential for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so ISWAN is best known for Seafarer Assistance, which is a helpline, multilingual, free-to-use, 24/7 for seafarers globally. We recently carried out a review of 2022 data from helplines, and we saw significant increases in these issues: family and relationships, financial debt, ABHDV, mental health, contractual issues. But overall, we know that the life of seafarers has changed. There's not the same adventure or glamour these days. They are invisible and not valued. Everyone needs a sense of being valued, but who cares about seafarers?
Okay, thank you.
If I could add to that, through experience as well, in the last 7 years as a cadet, I had people, when we left for shore leave, 8 hours at a time, sometimes half a day, if the crew could handle the workload. Now, in my last contract, after COVID as well, we didn't even get shore leave issues. We didn't even get shore passes.
No.
They wouldn't allow us in a port, which was in the Americas. They didn't even allow us to exit it, to go to the mall or to a pub.
I was going to say, shore leave, if that's just staying in the port and the welfare center, is it really that romantic?
On that, I must add that, which is a further question, technology. So evolution of technology, which in other words, ports have evolved as well. So because of the technology which has been given to ports, that means less time in port, that means no time for the crew to sign off, take a shore pass, and therefore there's more pressure on the crew to discharge, to load, and go. So...
Yeah.
Talking about the mental
all adding to
health.
stress. Yeah.
It's important part of physical on board the vessel, and the depression of the people can jeopardize the safe operation of the ship. So it's very important that part.
And just to add the last thing, to the wages. Before, when I was, again, younger, the idea, go to the ship, you will earn a lot of money, you will come back, you will enjoy your time. This does not happen anymore. People that work in the office sometimes earn more than the second officers and chief officers. So what is the attraction factor that the younger generation gets from the sea? Also, this romantic idea that you will get to travel and see the world, this doesn't happen anymore.
Cultures, visit exciting places.
Yeah.
It's not the love boat.
It's not.
It's a history.
So what is so attractive for the kids that grow up now to get them to the ship?
Well, I just need to add to that. The point of not everybody goes on board, right? It's necessity which counts for a crew member to sign on a vessel. So if they didn't, and because of the various cultures, because if you, I can give you two examples. A seafarer from Asia, will be satisfied as a rating to receive an X amount of money. But that X amount of money for a European seafarer is not the same. And he will not sign on a vessel with the same standards and the same amount of wages as an agent.
No.
So it's not the Love Boat. And it's not a romantic, sorry to say that, but it's nothing romantic about it.
And that's that's the industry's job. If we're having problems with recruitment and we're having problems with retention, then this is the primary issue. This is the root cause of all. And if you want that to improve, you improve seafarer welfare.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. I think I'll try to combine questions 3 and 5 about how the role of HR is shifting and who should be collaborating with HR in meeting these challenges, and as well as is this considered a vital strategic challenge for shipping companies? And if so, who should HR be collaborating with? Is it top management? Does it have their attention?
I believe
or where do we see the challenges at that?
I believe that crew welfare ensure the safety and right of vessels, seafarer to descend, working in living conditions, of course. And it includes health protection and medical care and all the rest we already mentioned before. HR is the use and coordinating of the skills, knowledge, and there is experience and resources available on board the ship, which is something which give to the people to achieve their goals. It's very important. It's other safety critical tasks like the role managing payment, the benefits for the organization staff, and proper management of compression, organization, time off, and insurance, which could keep employees' satisfaction high. Is for me very important. This is actually the main part of HR,
right?
Which we can.
Nicolas, what do you think?
In every organization, the crew welfare should be the center of the organization. Like we said, crew are the lifeblood of the ships.
But is it?
It should be.
Yeah.
It should be. And it's a legal requirement from every organization to provide a wellness or good crew welfare on board. And the companies that don't do that or the organizations that don't do that need to be accounted for that. So the way it needs to be elevated, and there are now a lot of programs like what Alan is supporting. There's also programs in the countries of the seafarers. So I know from the Philippines, the We Care program is happening. China, same. So there are a lot of organizations that value the seafarers, and the companies need to work with them and support them in order to create this,
Well, the question that everybody in this room should be asking themselves, and I know that everybody knows the answer to it, but we're just hiding behind our little fingers, is that nowadays ship investors are people who are not into shipping. So they have no idea, somebody who is going to invest in a vessel, and the only thing they have in their minds is just the dollar sign at the end of the day.
Just the bottom line.
Exactly. So a person who hasn't sailed and a person who has no idea, no background with regards to crewing and ship management overall will not care about the crew.
No.
They only know, their only priority is I invest and I want X amount of money at the end of the day. So who do we go, as you said, who does the HR and where does the crew welfareness go to? At the end of the day, I believe the ship owners and ship managers, and operators should be the ones who should be implementing crew welfareness into that budget which they're asking from the owners.
But it sounds like to combat that challenge, you need to take it a level higher. You can't just say, okay, it's up to the shipping companies because or ship management.
But it is at the end of the day. It has to be
minimum standards sort of implemented from
yeah, but everybody has internal policies. But at the end of the day, it is up to us, the ship managers and the crew managers and in general the operators, to implement what do we want of crew welfareness, and then at the end of the day, turn up to the owner and tell him, you know what, this is my budget, I can't do else, I can't minimize my crew welfare in order for you to gain an X amount of money. So as we deduct, for example, the P&I, right? Our insurance, it's a must. Okay? So if it's a must, then why can't we have a must for crew welfare?
Are the crew managers brave enough to do that?
No, I admit it. Because I know that I'm given a budget, and if I don't cover myself in that budget, the owner will go somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's a wheel and it turns around. So it's either it's implemented into a regulation and into a next regulation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would like to address another issue which we have, which is another conflict between two main things. As Captain said before, the amount of crew which is on board a vessel, we have two contradicting things. We have the safe manning, which clearly tells you that you only have an X amount of people which you're allowed to have on board. And then you have the SDCW giving you an X amount of people which you have on board. So when the captain on board says, you know what, I need additional crew, what's going to happen? I can't work under this pressure. The answer is, sorry, safe manning says 16, you have 16. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Treat them well, make them easy for them to make their right choice, and your ships benefit, perform well by this.
Yeah, but performance, in order for performance, for a human being to perform, you actually need to have that physical and mental.
Of course, certainly. This is the way, actually, it's the role of the HR, of organizations.
But we also have to be, and everybody on this table, including myself, okay? We're not huge international companies, which we do not have a crewing department of 20, 30 people working on one department, and each and one and every person will look at every single crew member on board.
Talking about the shipping organization, it has the same problem. I mean, there are so many offices around the world, and we have also the same way of conduct and the rest that you already mentioned before.
Yeah.
It's not only the ships, it's also the office will be managing the ships.
We also have a few questions from the audience here we'd like to cover.
Yeah.
Okay, how are we for time?
It's a long list.
Is it possible
but one question, or maybe, as David said or showed us, connectivity is important, yeah? And you go on board ships for 3, 4, up to 9 months, 11 months maybe. I just want to ask here in the panel, how many of you are willing to leave your mobile telephone here to go on board a ship where there's no internet and no connectivity? How many of you will be willing to leave your mobile telephone here on the table and get it back from us in 9 months' time?
I could unless you guarantee me an X amount of money per month, which would go in my pocket if I don't hold my mobile phone.
Yeah. But it's also it's a generational thing, though, as well. Of course, if it's all you've known is connectivity, it's far easier for somebody with the perspective of being able to communicate without the needs of technology. I myself, I'm fortunate enough, like lots of us in here, to have perspective of that, life before this, day in, day out, of course. But I think the big thing here is that this is a shared responsibility, and when we talk about whose responsibility it is, if you are a stakeholder and you have a vetted interest in the movement of a vessel and the movement of your cargo, then you too share the responsibility. Why should it be that a seafarer should be treated differently to somebody who is ashore? Why should it be if we expect, whilst ashore, a certain level of respect, consideration and care, that should be exactly the same for a seafarer? And I think that is the issue. As a former port agent, I would see it from both angles. You're having a pressure from the charterer and a different pressure from the owner. When is that mutual level of respect? And you say, yes, we have a vetted interest here. Let's do something about this. Okay, can the vessel afford to sit at anchorage for a couple more days? Actually, does it really need to be on the berth now? Or can we give them that time? I want it on the berth now. I want action now. Now, it mightn't even be necessary in some cases, and that is why the conversation needs to be more prominent and the responsibility needs to be distributed, because without the seafarer, nobody in this room has a company or an organisation.
Yeah.
David, we're about to close. Just to give you an example of connectivity, last year I was on board with another 20 journalists from Cyprus, from Limassol to Piraeus on the MV Dalila. And it was the first time, the first journey, and the vessel didn't have Wi-Fi on board for 30 hours. Imagine 30 hours with 20 journalists on board, and trying, when they were passing each island, they were getting a signal, a line there, and then, I got the line, let's get on the internet. That's the journalist. But imagine that's also the Generation Z, what will happen to them.
Wait to see the next generation. What kind of
correct.
things that they face.
Let's close for that one. There are some questions left that we need to be answered, but we will do it like with the previous panel, that we will create a report, and then all these answers, all these questions will be answered.
Okay.
I just want to add one thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to add one thing.
Yeah.
Everybody in this room should actually try one thing, no matter what, including myself: shorter contracts of employment with a job security of returning back to that same company. That's all I have to say.
That's a very valuable comment.
Can I add one last thing? Sorry, just very short. Okay. So I notice at a lot of events, obviously it's great that this event is dedicated to the cause, but often seafarer welfare is the last thought at a corporate event in the maritime industry. And there's plenty of talk when it comes to autonomy. So autonomous vessels are being discussed for the future. The issues with our environment are happening right now. In order to deliver and install the technologies that will combat environmental issues, the world needs the seafarer. So the discussion needs to go beyond the maritime industry, reaching out to the general public, raising their profile by bringing their vital work to the forefront in conversations regarding decarbonisation. That will help with the recruitment as well. If we can glorify the role of a seafarer more so, re-energise it, and allow people to feel more respected and more vital to
that comment actually leads us on to the next one. You talk about the future and so on.
Yeah,
thank you.
And this we will move on now. So thank you very much for a very good presentations and a very good panel. Thank you very much to all of you. And for the benefit of time and for benefit of lunch, we move fast on with our first and last